All right, welcome. We are back. How's everybody doing? Back for some healing, honey. I hope all is well tonight. So we're continuing on with our healing journey and doing that in the open. And the next energy center is our solar plexus chakra. And my actions are in alignment with my highest destiny. I find it so interesting that I would be working on that right now because Spirit has been dealing with me a lot about aligning myself. And the aligning needs to be within the intentions and within the expected outcome that I'm placing out there. It's so amazing how Spirit just works in mysterious ways, and I tell you, but yeah, all I can say is just yes, I hear you. That's all I can say. But the solar plexus really deals with the life force, you know, our willpower, our vitality, our drive, the motivation. It's masculine energy. It's that active doing force with the solar plexus. You know, this is almost like the home of the energy center. And this particular vitality is like inspiration, motivation. You know, we carry it here in this home place for this power center. It's associated with our abilities, with our power and our passion, and how we pour our energy comes from this center. And it's understood that this has come about around the ages between about 14 to 21. This is usually the time when we're learning lessons for this cycle. And those lessons in this center actually is revolved around living with a sense of purpose and using our power intentionally towards higher good for that purpose. This is the center of very high level energy, the thrust for life, or pushing us towards those things that we desire to do. You know, aligning us with our callings, our dreams, our goals. It's fiery energy. And so this center tends to carry a lot of heat. It's actually known to be associated with the sun. This energy center is considered to be one representing the color yellow. It's associated with the yellow. And the lessons around this center really teach us how to be self-motivated, self-acclimated, and internally inspired. And so it also helps us to challenge ourselves and to do the work and use our power to actually overcome anything that stands in the way of that, stands in the way of us moving forward or expanding or progressing, you know, towards our future. So the ancient Kemetic name, of course, is Ob. And that refers to the energy of the heart, which is so very interesting because I just did a Reiki session yesterday, and of course that was one of the areas that was determined that needed work from, you know, my solar plexus was one. And the color that I was seeing during the session, though, it wasn't yellow, it was green, right? But interestingly enough, though, this particular energy center, the solar plexus, actually resonates with that color green because it's connected with the heart center, and the color for the heart is green. But that's what I was seeing in my inner vision, was the energy of the heart center, and it was flowing green. And this is that energy that keeps the heart functioning. The solar plexus is that power that's flooded to the heart that keeps it pumping. If we find ourselves in the energy where we're procrastinating, that says that this energy center might not fully be supplied with what it needs. There may be even blockages there. There's definitely lots of things that we could talk about around this energy center. Blocks is one of them, and it shows up in many different ways. Let's talk about the blocked energy center for a second. One of the ways that it could show up as a blocked solar plexus, to talk about power, right? In today's culture, we have this high emphasis on power, and it's placed at a very high level of desire. Usually it's intended to be positive unless it's taken out of context and not used correctly. Then it could be easily taken and turned into something negative. When we talk about power, we look at people who are able to do things and achieve things and make things happen. People who are very assertive, we tend to value those people who have that high sense of power, and who use it with their charisma, to do things that they could also sometimes intend in a negative way, right? They could also use that power to control people in order to get what they need, or to get a lot of things through that way. Power is positive by nature. It's intended to be, but it can also be taken and used in a more manipulative way. And for those that may not feel like they have that sense of power, right? Those that have that sense of power can use it over those that may not feel very powerful, right? Feeling powerful is good. On the other hand, feeling powerless rather is not so good. If you lack that sense of power, that could show up as a blocked chakra. And if you feel overly powerful, that could also be a different kind of issues. There's health issues that show up under the blocked chakra. If you have a blocked solar plexus chakra, you could experience things like digestive issues, or the way that you posture yourself. It could show up in that way as well. There's even association to things like diabetes, and I think it's called hypoglycemia, I think it's called, or problems with your gallbladder or your liver could be related to this energy center. Having a blocked chakra many times will show up as a lack of energy as well. It's almost like the body tends to want to reserve or protect itself, and so it pulls back, right? Even with the posture, it's almost like this hovering posture that shows that the body's trying to protect itself, and so it's bent over and curving around the heart, interestingly, right? But it's trying to protect itself. And that may be an indication, if you're noticing those things about yourself, an indication of a block. It can also show up in psychological issues as well. People with blocked solar plexus chakra tend to talk negatively about themselves, or they kind of, when they're going through problems, right, they could look for others to take accountability for those problems. They lack accountability many times. They're looking for someone else to take the blame for it. Or they could complain of, like, again, not having enough, energy to do it. That's like showing up as the blocked solar plexus. People with the blocked solar plexus chakra could also lack a sense of like livelihood when it comes to, like, take someone who is very charismatic. Like someone with a blocked chakra would not have those kind of sparklies in their personality, and they might in fact restrict their expression, or refuse to really show their authentic self, right? Because they might be afraid to open up that way. it really points to not really being sure of who you are, right? Because the solar plexus is all about the I, the self. You're not really quite sure who that is, which becomes a problem when it comes time to engage from that point of identity. Now, healing the blocked, whatever that could be, those are just a few. Healing a blocked solar plexus could be like standing out in the sun and doing exercises and running, and sweating. And it could even be short distance exercises. And it has a lot to do with heat. Right? Sitting in the sun. It could be doing hot yoga, right? If you've ever heard of hot yoga, this is one of my favorites. This is actually being in a heated room where you actually do yoga. And it's almost like an immediate detox. Like if you ever want a really good detox, go do some hot yoga. That's going to knock some stuff straight out of the box, straight out of the body. And you will come out feeling like a new creature. Trust me. It could also be things like Pilates, some say that you can find yellow foods that will actually stimulate the solar plexus chakra or unblock a solar plexus chakra, or dispel any blocks that you might have. Also eating spicy foods like spices like ginger, cinnamon, curry, things like that. Also engaging in intentional self-talk. Like, what is it that you need to hear to keep yourself inspired? Hitting those things for yourself first thing in the morning. Nothing wrong with that. Reminding yourself of who you are, right? Just small little things like that. Even creating small little tasks for yourself that you can get that sense of accomplishment often. There's so many ways to do that. Now, the other side of the overloaded solar plexus is the people who have, the other side of the block chakra is people who have an overloaded chakra. And these are people that could show up as being very boisterous and loud, right? They would want all of the attention, or they want things done in the exact way. It's my way or the highway, no compromise. These are people that, have to have things done their way, a certain way. They have to have the last word, in the argument or the conversation. And, even if that isn't you, you may know someone that actually lines up with someone with an overloaded chakra. This person could seem a little bit arrogant or self-centered, and someone that always feels like they're right. And if someone agrees with them, they're the wrong one, And so for those that live alone, who have lived alone for a long time, this might be the case. An overloaded third chakra might not seem much of a problem as long as you're living alone. But when it comes to having to get along or work with others or live with others, it may turn into an issue when there's the need to show or feel empathy, right? Or to show genuine love from your heart, And so the overloaded third chakra can cause health issues as well, along with all of these other connecting social issues around fulfilling relationships, or even, forgot about this one, even when it comes to spiritual growth, right? Because no one has arrived. We're all, as long as we're in these bodies, we're going to be working to grow and learn. And we're all still healing. We're all still, finding out what we don't know. And when we come to seek a higher power, this sometimes can cause issues as well, because an overloaded solar plexus chakra really deals with the ego and infatuated ego. And there's a level of needing to release that when you come to connect with higher sources of power. And so there's a little bit of friction that sometimes shows up there. But when it comes to the health issues, this might look like high stress levels, definitely having some physical problems that may show up like hypertension or tightening muscles, even ulcers or chronic fatigue. Now, the chronic fatigue is interesting because that usually shows up because they're usually people with an overloaded solar plexus chakra is on high all the time, like they're hyped on 10 all the time, and the body cannot survive at that pace all the time. At some point, there's bound to be a collapse or a crash from overexhaustion. These are usually those that will need to be, taken to emergency often. They're thinking they're having like heart problems, or they could be suffering actually from indigestion when they think it's the heart, or maybe they're even having a panic attack, or just, total over exhaustion, and the body is just giving out, because it's craving rest or stillness. And these are people that may actually overuse pain meds as well, or sedatives, in an attempt to get their body to come down. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work being or having an overactive solar plexus chakra, and it's a lot of work and heavy on the body. All of that egoic energy is so heavy, and it wears the body out. And so that's one of the health things to look out for with an overloaded sacral chakra. Basically, it's like people that you come across that seem like they have like an inflated ego, and they tend to be a little mean too, especially when they come across people that have the opposite, that seem to be very sensitive. Maybe they have these people have an overloaded sacral chakra, which drives them into oversensitivity. This is like the worst combination. Someone with an overloaded solar plexus can just tear somebody up that has an overloaded sacral chakra, and so it's that feeling of just being overbearing, especially for people that are sensitive, and they find it hard to really understand there's like that sense of insensitivity. They can't understand why people won't do it their way, right? Which is obviously the right way in their mind for people with overloaded sacral solar plexus chakras. And when people don't cater to them, they can become snappy or aggressive, sometimes even violent in some cases, just mean, for no reason. And so, in certain cases, they may even, want to even seek counseling for the anger problems if it goes to that level. These are people that tend to sometimes appear to be very successful because they're good at getting what they want and learning how to work around and using their power very assertively, even when that means asserting it over others, or, not recognizing other people and getting what it is that they want, right? And so it could be very easy to lose that balance. It's very important just to really place yourself in situations like making yourself work with people if you feel like that could be you, placing yourself in situations where you need to be compassionate, placing yourself in situations, working with others, having to expand your perspective so you look at it from a different perspective, making room for all kinds of energy, not just energy that you're used to. If you're dealing with an overloaded solar plexus, definitely looking into ways to ground and being open and welcoming in, compassion and love, and remembering that, when it comes to our personal power, it is good. It's been given to us to utilize for good, as long as it's not taken out of context and that we don't use it to exercise power over others at their expense, right? If we find that we're doing that, even if we end up winning, that's a misuse, okay? Everything, I always say, is about balance. Everything's about balance. So it's just simple things, like relaxation techniques that can help bring you down. If you suffer from an overloaded solar plexus chakra, or doing yoga, savasana, aerobic exercises are a great way to run down that energy right before bed or just when you get up, to drain off all that excess. Deep breathing exercises is excellent. I love that one. Engaging in things that don't involve competition, non-competitive activities, or making yourself actually go out and, do some volunteer work where you have to be around other people. Like things like that might be helpful, to slow down, to practice eating and walking and working at an intentional, slower pace. You might engage in things where you have to listen, intentionally listen, and work on your listening skills, practicing hearing what others are saying. Yeah, and so all of that works to increase the sensitivity towards others. And if needed, like I said, anger management is always part of that list as well, And so there are some specific yoga poses. One was the Warrior One. I'm going to post some pictures of this on this part too. That's where you hold your arms up straight, and then you do like a launch forward. One of your legs is going to be like at a 90 degree while the other one is straight behind you, right? Going back. The other one is the Warrior Two. Now this one is where you're still lunged forward at a 90 degree with the front leg, and the other one is lunged straight back, but your arms are, one is going forward and one is going back like an airplane, right? And if you have a partner, you can work out with the boat pose. This one's good too, where you're going to both sit on your bottoms while you put your feet up together, touching, and you're going to make an A. Your feet will come up in the air, balancing on each other while your hands and your arms connect to make the letter A, basically. And I'll put pictures here on this part so we can see those. All right, so take a look at those yoga poses and see if any of those help. If it does, let me know. Yeah. So now to jump into the exciting part, the applicable part. There was about 5 questions on this one, again, around the solar plexus. Each one of these questions, again, it's important to really be honest and truthful with yourself. Unless you choose to, like, nobody's going to know. They're going to know. No, they're not. They're not going to know unless you decide to share it. I'm choosing to share some of them that I feel comfortable with, because I'm just choosing to do that. You don't have to. This is between you and you. And so it's important to be really honest. And if you want to use any of the other questions, just let me know. I'll shoot the picture over to you with these questions, okay? So I chose 1 or 2 of them and to answer. And so I definitely want to talk about what I chose and how I answered them. First of all, before going in, it's good to take a little bit of time to clear our Obi center or the solar plexus center. before answering the questions. And so we've done that. So the first question I chose to discuss was, how am I using my personal power and energy for my highest good? Because power stands out to me, first of all. And I think, as it was stated earlier in this discussion about the solar plexus and having an overloaded solar plexus, it really points to many times how we're using our power, whether that's not using it or misusing it, the power that we have. Sometimes it's really easy to misconstrue that power and use it in excess to kind of get what we want, you know. And sometimes that happens many times at the expense of others. And so what was definitely something that stuck out to me was this question, because this has been something that I have taken great pleasure in working out for myself. I am a recovering people pleaser. And I am someone who wants to see people do good. I'm someone who wants to help people succeed. You know, I want to help people heal, whatever's needed, you know, and I want to help people work through their issues and their stuff. I want to see people happy. That's always been me. I just want to see people happy. And for those of us who are healers, right, we understand the need to learn and to utilize boundaries. You know, we have to learn healthy standards. And for me, this was definitely one that I enjoyed talking about because I'm there. Oh, baby, I'm there. And the question was, how do I use my personal power? This energy flowing from my solar plexus for my highest good. How do I use that? And so first of all, I'm, you know, developing into exactly what I feel called to do. If I like being drawn to a certain thing that I feel a calling to, I'm going to do it. Being that I'm a natural helper and I want to see people do good and be better and feel better about themselves. And I also have a natural power that just does that, right? Without me even having to try. It's a natural tendency for energy to flow out from me and in healing mode, right? I can just, without even giving thought, naturally operate in that energy to uplift and support people. But I've also learned that with this too, I have to be careful because not everybody is called to receive it. I've learned that. Listen, for my healers, if you know, you know. But I also feel like I use my power to co-create intentionally with my creator, with God, with the universe, with spirit, you know, and I use it intentionally to create situations that allow me to use what I've been given, my gifts, my talents, my power to heal and to awaken not only myself but others. I spend quite a bit of energy doing that. I intend that, right, by educating, by demonstrating, by, you know, I'm reading energy and volunteering my time for others, all in efforts to use my power in that way. And my focus many times are on being intentionally, inwardly directed and motivated to do that, to help. But I'm on this continuous healing journey, I found, for myself, while at the same time sharing my experiences with others. When I get a chance, I find myself sharing parts of myself with others, just random people, when they ask questions, you know, and You know, that's what I feel like I'm called to do. I definitely feel like I'm being called to specifically heal, yes, and to continue to learn, yes. As a continuous learner, I feel as long as I'm living, I'll be pouring my energy and my power out towards learning. That's just a given. I realize that. And I choose to be on this path that I'm on, this learning journey, this healing journey. And I choose to be an open book and to share my experiences. And I have chosen to use my power in this way. And now that I understand more about what it is that I have and the purpose why I've been given it, I can be more intentional and more assertive and effective and direct that power appropriately, you know, in a way that's going to be beneficial for myself and for others as well. And so this is definitely something that I'm excited about, because even, you know, what I'm doing right now, right here, in this moment in time, in this space, I'm speaking to you. I'm healing myself while I'm speaking to you. Though my words that I'm speaking are pouring out to you, my confessions that I'm making, right? I am healing myself while simultaneously healing others, right? Those that would listen to this. Maybe there's someone that, you know, needed to hear this. Maybe this is going to resonate with someone specific and inspire them to somehow find out more, you know, about themselves, or take a look at how they've been choosing to wield their power. And if it's been beneficial for themselves or for others. As I said, society is very power drunk. We are intoxicated with power. And it's definitely something that we can learn from. And it's useful. Power is given to be useful, but at the same time, it's become and can become, when it's taken out of context, a tool of destruction, right? It becomes destructive instead of useful. So maybe by having this discussion and talking about these things, you know, today someone will have an opportunity to be more aware of how they're wielding their power, and possibly looking at some ways that they could actually be more intentional with their power. Okay? Yes, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm right here. So that was the first question that I answered. Let's see. What is my purpose in life is the second question. And am I living according to that purpose? Yeah. First, we want to take some time to clear the solar plexus center, and then answer the questions, of course. So again, what is my purpose, and am I living according to this purpose at this point in time right now? So I do feel like my purpose is to do exactly what I'm doing right now, right here, in this space, in this time. How could I be doing anything different? I'm right here, right now, doing exactly what I'm doing. That's my purpose. I'm also aware that my purpose is to heal right now. That's my purpose, is to heal right now. I've come to understand, as I've stepped into spirituality, it's not about the gifts and the magic and doing all these wonderful things and making things happen and turning the table towards us. You know, for me specifically, I believe that I was sent here to heal, specifically past wounds, while becoming the most healthy me possible in this lifetime, my purpose in this life is to use my time here, to learn about who I am, what I've been called to do, the things that I've been given to assist me in doing those things, and to do, the very best of my ability to do that, to use those things to the best of my ability, right? My purpose, not only for me, let me add, but also for myself, to better myself and to better society as well. My purpose is to know myself on the deepest level possible, and to connect from that place. I also believe that my purpose is to create a more conducive environment, starting from home, and then a more conducive environment outwardly as well, right? Conducive for what? Conducive for growth, right? Conducive for love, conducive for peace. Now, will it always be, sunflowers? I love sunflowers. Sunflowers and squirrels? No, it won't. And I realize that it won't always operate in, this beautiful, I won't always get to operate in sweet energy, right? But sweet energy does not necessarily promote growth. It's the disturbances, it's the challenges that promotes growth. For me, that's something that I have been purposed to do, is speak truth first and foremost. And it's through speaking truth that most of the friction, most of the conflict have been, stirred up in my life. I've dealt with that kickback about speaking truth my whole life long. But at the same time, it's also something that I do so naturally without even trying. And so the question arises, well, how can something that you've been called to do actually create such havoc, right? That's a great question, one that I've asked myself many times. And I realize that sometimes it's right where you are purposed to be. That's the place where you're going to receive the most friction. That's the place that's going to be the most chaotic. The energy is going to be most tumultuous right there. The water will be troubled the most right there. It'll be most difficult to operate right there. You'll have the most opposition right there. It'll be the thing that irritates your soul, right? That you've actually been sent here to help provide a solution for, or you've been sent here to heal, right? It always hits home. I've come to understand that. It hits right home. It hits the heart. And so if that wasn't so, it's coming up as well, you wouldn't be bothered by it at all. I feel like your purpose is usually tied to something in that way. And I guess I'm okay with that. As long as I'm operating in my natural, I get to be me. I'm operating in my natural, authentic self. Listen, whatever comes, let it come. Whatever goes, bye-bye. Let it go. I'm okay with that. And so my purpose is basically to experience life and to be. I've learned what that means, to just be, and to try to enjoy every moment for what it is, because you're not promised the next one. Now, and for me, try to enjoy what I have left. I'm not a young spring chicken. So, it's using my power and my awareness coming from that space of the solar plexus, the space of my I, who I am, my identity, that deepest sense of self, right? It's operating in all of those things from that authentic space. That's what I've been called to do. And when I'm able to do that, ever so often I find myself perfectly aligned with that place, and it feels good. It feels so good. And it feels better than some of the most pleasurable things that we're able to experience in these bodies. It feels even better than that. And I think that's because it's not dependent upon anything to be a certain way. It's such a pure flow from who we are, being aligned with where we're supposed to be. It's just bliss, you know. And when you're aligned, you know, it's like, even if there is chaos around you, you're not affected by it because you're right where you're supposed to be. And I found that it's just so beautiful to be, you know. And if you're enjoying these open healing sessions, you know, I would love for you to comment if you resonate with any of this, or if you have any stories you want to share. I invite you to do that, right? So that was my second question that I chose to answer. And it's really encouraging for me when people tap in. You know, I do other things too. I do readings. Sometimes people tap in and they tell me, oh, you're on point. I love that. Sometimes the tap in is not so positive, but I appreciate those too, because they're being honest. They're responding out of their situation, their experience, and that's okay. It doesn't always have to be a favorable one, but it lets me know that something I said touched you, and that's okay. And so I appreciate all responses, and I invite you to be open and honest and share if you like. And so I appreciate you all for all that this would pass by your ears, and you'll have an opportunity to listen and tap in. Let me know. Feel free. You can share, like, comment. This one was for the solar plexus. And yeah, with that, I guess I'll be signing out. That's all I have for tonight. We are on this journey together. We're all healing. We're all still learning. I don't care how mastered you are. We're still in this thing together, okay? All right. With that, I'm going to sign out. Thanks for listening.